Who was the soldier who pierced Jesus on the cross? What destiny awaited him after that crucial moment? Did his life change forever, or did he remain just another bystander? In this video, you'll discover the hidden story behind that man and how his act marked a turning point. Don't miss it. Do you know why a soldier pierced Jesus' side while he was on the cross? According to John 19:34, a Roman soldier pierced his side with a spear to ensure that he was dead, thus fulfilling a biblical prophecy that said none of his bones would be broken. This act not only confirmed Jesus' physical death, but also carries deep symbolic meaning in Christian faith. The blood and water that flowed out represent purification and life, marking a key moment in the crucifixion narrative. Who was the soldier who pierced Jesus' side on the cross? The Bible does not mention his name or offer details about his identity. However, throughout history and Christian tradition, a figure has emerged closely associated with this mysterious character, Longinus. His story, though born from tradition and not from the canonical Gospels, offers a powerful spiritual reflection on conversion, redemption, and hope. In the Gospel of John, 19:34, it is briefly mentioned that, upon arriving at the site of the crucifixion, one of the soldiers pierced Jesus' side with a spear, and immediately blood and water flowed out. This seemingly simple act, with no further explanation in the biblical text, has been interpreted for centuries as a gesture full of profound symbolism. Yet, the Bible is silent about the soldier's name, life, or motives. This silence has opened the door for tradition and legend to complete the story. The name Longinus appears in later Christian texts and traditions, especially in apocryphal writings and early Christian accounts. According to these sources, Longinus was a Roman centurion who took part in Jesus' crucifixion. He was said to be a hardened man, used to violence and strict obedience. However, the moment he saw blood and water flow from Christ's side marked a turning point in his life. For some, that was the moment when his spiritual eyes were opened. In fact, some legends claim that Longinus suffered from vision problems, and that some drops of Jesus' blood, when touching his eyes, miraculously healed him. Whether literal or symbolic, this detail has been interpreted as a metaphor for conversion, going from spiritual blindness to the light of faith. Tradition holds that Longinus converted to Christianity after the crucifixion, abandoning his former life and devoting himself to preaching the gospel, even at the cost of being persecuted. Over time, Longinus was venerated as a saint in various Christian churches, especially in the Catholic and Orthodox traditions. His spear, known as the Spear of Longinus, or the Holy Lance, also gained mythical status. Many believed this sacred object possessed special powers, capable of granting victory or divine protection to its bearer. Beyond legend, the lance symbolizes how even a violent act can become part of the divine plan of redemption. Theologically, the act of piercing Jesus' side represents more than the confirmation of his death. It is a moment where signs of grace manifest: blood, representing the redeeming sacrifice, and water, symbolizing purification and baptism. Thus the soldier, unnamed in the Gospels, becomes a key figure in the drama of salvation. In short, even though we don't know for sure who the soldier was, tradition has given life to Longinus as a symbol of spiritual transformation. His story reminds us that even in the midst of darkness and sin, there is the possibility of encountering God. A seemingly insignificant act can become the beginning of a new life. And what if you, too, are closer to transformation than you imagine? Can you imagine what it was like for that soldier to be so close to the most crucial moment in history? His fate, whether real or symbolic, shows us that behind every character lies a story that can transform lives. The soldier who pierced Jesus' side didn't just follow Roman orders. He unwittingly took part in fulfilling a divine plan that would shape humanity's destiny. What spiritual meaning lies behind this seemingly brutal act? At first glance, it appears to be merely a confirmation of death. However, through the eyes of faith, we discover it is filled with deep symbolism that has inspired prayers, reflections, and teachings for centuries. When the spear pierces Jesus' side, blood and water come forth. These two elements are not random details. In Christian tradition, the blood represents the redeeming sacrifice, the forgiveness of sins, and Christ's total self-giving out of love for humanity. The water symbolizes purification, new life, and spiritual rebirth celebrated in baptism. In a single act, two fundamental pillars of Christian faith are expressed: redemption and renewal. This moment also holds a deep connection with Old Testament prophecies. In the book of Exodus, it is stated that no bone of the Passover lamb should be broken. Jesus, the new lamb, dies without a single bone broken, and the piercing of his side confirms that he is the living fulfillment of those ancient promises. The spear does not break his body, but instead reveals his divine fullness. Spiritually, this scene is the ultimate expression of Jesus' self-giving. He not only dies on the cross, but even after death, he continues giving his blood, giving water, giving life. His open side is a source of grace, a symbol that true love holds nothing back, not even in the final breath. The soldier who wounds him represents, in a way, all of humanity. We often wound without understanding, act without seeing, but even from our errors, God can bring forth something great. That act of piercing paradoxically becomes a doorway to reconciliation and hope. Ultimately, the piercing of Jesus' side is not just a painful event, but a living metaphor of love that flows even in suffering. And you? Are you willing to let that love transform your life too? Did you know that the spear that pierced Jesus' side became a symbol with a mysterious and storied history? This relic, known as the Spear of Longinus, or Holy Lance, has fascinated believers, scholars, and leaders for centuries, due to its direct connection to one of the most moving moments in Christianity, Christ's crucifixion. According to tradition, this spear was used by a Roman soldier to ensure that Jesus had died on the cross. That soldier was later identified as Longinus, who, moved by what he witnessed, is said to have converted to Christianity. The spear, then, not only touched Christ's body, it also became a silent witness to the supreme act of love and surrender. Over time, the lance gained almost mythical status. It was venerated as a sacred relic, and according to various legends, possessing it granted power, divine protection, and legitimacy. Emperors like Constantine and Charlemagne, as well as crusaders and war leaders, were associated with it. This belief gave the spear a key role in both church history and the political imagination of the Middle Ages. But the influence of the Spear of Destiny extended beyond temples and palaces. It inspired literary works, films and paintings, becoming a cultural symbol that goes beyond the merely religious. In many of these stories, the spear represents the link between the divine and the human, between the fragility of our history and the eternity of the Christian message. Yet beyond mystery and legend, the spear holds deep spiritual meaning. It reminds us that the moment Jesus was wounded was not just a violent act, but the fulfillment of a total offering that brought new life. From his wounded side flowed blood and water, symbols of redemptive sacrifice and the soul's purification. Today, this spear invites us to look beyond the physical object and ask, what does it truly represent in our lives? Perhaps it's a call to remember the value of sacrifice, to open ourselves to the mystery of faith, and to find inspiration for our present in the signs of the past. What does this spear symbolize for you? Is it just a relic or a doorway to something deeper? Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more content like this. That way, you'll always be up to date on our upcoming videos. Now, let's keep going. Have you ever stopped to think why a simple act, like a soldier piercing Jesus' side, was recorded in such detail in the Gospels? This seemingly violent and secondary event holds deep spiritual meaning that still speaks powerfully to our lives today. More than a historical fact, it's a wellspring of teachings that invite us to reflect, transform our hearts, and grow as people. First, the wound in Jesus' side shows us that true strength does not consist in avoiding suffering, but in the ability to love in the midst of it. Even in his moment of greatest vulnerability, Jesus offered an act of total self-giving. His love wasn't conditioned or limited by physical pain. It remained faithful to the end. This challenges us to see our own difficulties from a new perspective, not as obstacles that destroy us, but as opportunities to grow in faith, hope, and love. The blood and water that flowed from his side are not just theological symbols, but living spiritual realities. The blood represents redemptive sacrifice, and the water symbolizes purification and spiritual rebirth. In our daily lives, this becomes a constant invitation to renew our faith, to let go of what contaminates us within, and to open our hearts to the grace that transforms us. It is a call to live more fully from the Spirit and not merely from the surface. On the other hand, the soldier who pierced Jesus can be seen as a reflection of humanity itself. We often wound without realizing it, make decisions from ignorance or indifference, and yet, even through those mistakes, God can work something profound. This act reminds us that repentance and forgiveness are not only possible, they are necessary. We all have the opportunity to change, to redeem our actions, and to contribute to good, even after having failed. Finally, this moment invites us to live each day with gratitude and awareness of the sacrifice that sustains us. Recognizing the love that has been freely given to us should lead us to live with more surrender, more compassion, and more purpose. In conclusion, the soldier's act is much more than a painful scene. It is a doorway to transformation, active hope, and deep faith. Are you ready to let its meaning touch your life and guide your path? Now that you know the destiny of the soldier who pierced Jesus and the deep meaning behind that moment, I invite you to reflect and share your thoughts. What impacted you most about this story? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to read it. Don't forget to like this video if it inspired you, and subscribe to keep exploring together topics that strengthen your faith and knowledge. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any new content. Thanks for being with me today. See you in the next video.